Hello everyone, today I have the installation of the Denali SoundBomb on a 2018 Triumph bobber. If you only purchase the SoundBomb, just note that it only comes with a relay and no wiring is included. The wiring harness is sold separately, and for this installation you're going to need the 5-foot wiring harness for a plug-and-play installation. The harness comes with extra connectors in case you need to do some modification or cutting. I chose not to modify it and use it as is. Now, if you have seen my video where I installed the 1300 drag pipes on the bobber, you will notice that the horn had to be installed facing backwards because the new pipes were on the way of the OM horn. Because of that, I am installing the SoundBomb in the same location where the cat used to be. Here's the size comparison between the cat and the SoundBomb. As you can see, the cat is much larger than the SoundBomb, and the empty space left by it can be used to install the new horn. If you got rid of the cat and have the extra room in there, you can use that space to install the SoundBomb in a semi-concealed location. The first thing you're gonna need is to remove the gas tank to hide the wires in the bike. If you follow the wiring from the OM horn, it goes up and behind the plastic cover for the wires. Remove the cap to have a better view and access. Now, let me show you how the wiring harness is going to be installed. The relay will be on the top, the battery wire will go down, the wire for the OM horn will go forwards, and the wire for the SoundBomb will go all the way down where the SoundBomb will be located. Here is the illustration from Denali and how things are supposed to be connected. And this is my drawing so you can see the direction of each of the wires. Alright, start by removing the airbox side cap and the battery cap. Then remove the intake cover to have better access. The first thing to install the harness is to pass the battery wire behind the intake. This process will require you to disconnect the small hose on the bottom of the airbox. You will need to remove the clamp on it first, then, using a screwdriver, disconnect the hose from the airbox carefully. Try not to damage the hose nor the box while doing so. Once the battery wire is on the other side, pass the relay connector to the other side of the frame between the frame and the engine. Then proceed with the SoundBomb wire, following the same path as the battery wire. After the two wires are all the way through, reconnect the air hose back in its place and don't forget to reinstall the clamp. With the hose back in its place, pass the SoundBomb wire on top of the battery box towards the rear of the frame. Continue to lead the wire in the same direction as the frame to direct it towards the bottom of the bike. Once the wire reaches the bottom, keep following the frame, but make sure the wire goes inside, not at the bottom or outside of the frame. Channel the wire between the frame and the engine until it ends at the front of the bike. Now it's time to disconnect the OM horn. Once you disconnect it, do not dispose any of it, as we will be reusing the bracket that was holding the horn. Before pulling the wire, we need to detach a clip that is holding it to the frame. Gently pull it out and reattach it back to its place. This is the wire that is going to be connected to the blue and yellow wire on the harness. Because I do not want to cut any wires, I rerouted the wire to shorten its length. If you have the skill to cut and solder the wires, this is where you will be using the extra connectors in the kit. I took the lazy route and just looped the wires and secure it with a zip tie. Make sure to leave enough wire to reach the OM wire. For the connection, connect the blue wire on the SoundBomb harness with the blue wire on the stock connector. Then attach the yellow wire to the harness with the black wire. Once everything is secure, tighten the zip tie as needed and cut. On the other side of the bike, and after passing the relay attachment between the engine and the frame, insert the relay and place it in a secure location. Put a seat tie on it to keep it in place, but make sure you're not blocking any of the fuel or coolant hoses. The next step will be to attach the harness to the battery, and the connection is pretty simple, red with red and black with black. You always want to leave this step for last, as you do not want any sparks or issues when installing the horn. Now, with all the wires attached to their destination, test the horn. If after testing the horn everything sounds right, reinstall the tank, reinstall the battery cap, the side cap, and the intake cover. Remember I mentioned not to get rid of the OM horn? Well, we need the bracket, the rubber adapter, and one of the clips from it. But before we reuse it, we need to make a couple bends. The bends will be approximately 1 inch from each of the ends. And the angle for them is gonna be 45 degrees. But do not pay attention to the video, as I overdid the bending and later found out the angle that I needed. Now, this is what the bracket should look like. You will need to adjust it as needed, but the basic idea is 1 inch on each side with 45-degree angles on each bend. Reusing the rubber adapter and one of the metal clips from the OM horn, attach the bracket to the SoundBomb using the hardware provided by Denali in the box. Doing this process on a table will be easier than doing it under the bike. There's no torque provided for this bolt, just make sure it is hand tight. Remove the frame cradle from the bike, and to attach the SoundBomb we're gonna use the same bolt that was holding the cat in place. I hope you still have them. Remember to add Loctite to the bolt before installing the SoundBomb. I do not have the torque for this bolt either, just secure it tightly. I routed the wire around the horn as I did not want to cut it. I used the help of a mirror to connect it as visibility was limited as well. Test the space between the SoundBomb and the bottom of the frame. Make sure it is not too low, and also make sure there is enough room between the horn and the frame cradle. Reinstall the cradle and zip tie the harness to the frame, and you're all done with the installation. Now, here's the sound comparison. That's it for the installation of the Denali SoundBomb on a 2018 Triumph Bobber. I hope you liked this video, and I'll leave you with this test ride in beautiful Virginia.